Looking to buy your dream home or rent that perfect apartment? With the Redfin app, you'll know the moment your next place hits the market. Set up your gotta-have-it wish list, and Redfin will send you real-time notifications for properties that match. And when you're ready to see it in person, scheduling a tour is just a tap away. Thinking about selling? Redfin can do that too. In fact, Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, so they know how to get the best price for your home. And with a listing fee as low as 1%, Redfin charges half of what others often charge. So you could save big, like really big. Last year, Redfin saved home sellers $118 million. So whether you're buying, renting, or selling, Redfin's ready to help you win. Download the Redfin app and start searching today.
Buy 5 quarts of Castrol Edge full synthetic motor oil and get a $15 gift card after rebate, plus 2 times points at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and The Pavilion. I'm Stephen Wallis, and following on from my recent Roland Reflects episode with former England international Roland Butcher, we continue our conversation to explore an intriguing topic, the prospect of a 2-tier test match setup. Roland shares his insights on the likelihood of this system becoming a reality, the potential for promotion and relegation, and the financial implications for cricketing nations around the world. It's another fascinating interview with one of the game's leading cricket experts. So let's hear what Roland had to say. We spoke earlier about Test cricket, and it's been an exciting year, 2024, for Test cricket. I've written down here, we had Bangladesh winning in Pakistan, the West Indies, they drew a series in Australia, New Zealand won in India, England won in New Zealand, South Africa are the top of the world Test Championship, and yet we have this talk of a possible 2-tier Test match competition. And I've got 2 people who have asked the same question, really, David Fountain and Paul Cullen, who Paul used to play for the Australia over 70s side. They want to know, what do you think of the idea of a 2-tier Test competition?
Yeah, listen, the fact that it has been discussed by a senior member of ICC in public means that it would have been discussed at some point. I believe it is inevitable. And the reason why I believe it's inevitable is that I think the series India against Australia was a glimpse of the future. I believe that there will be 2 divisions. The question is going to be, and I think these are the only questions that really need answering right now, is the question of when that will happen. And 2, really, what are the compensations for teams in Tier 2? I think it's a win-win situation for both groups, because with a split, it means that those top teams will now play amongst themselves more regularly and longer series, which in turn will give increased revenues to what they get now. So the pot will be bigger. And obviously, this is where the horse trading comes. It is now the compensation for the teams in Tier 2. I believe because of that, the teams in Tier 2 will also get a bigger share of the spoils than they get now. So they will be better off, because the top group will generate more money, which means there'll be more money to distribute. And the lower teams in Tier 2 will get more money than they get now, because those top teams, because of playing 5 Test series and 5 ODIs, etc., will generate huge sums of money, certainly TV rights, etc. And I think overall, the game will bring in more finance. More finance will be given to those Tier 2 teams, who can then invest in all the things they need to do to improve their cricket. And I think Michael Holding's article summed it up for me, really. I spoke to Michael recently about that. And I think, what he's suggesting there certainly makes sense. You have those two tiers. The tier 2 teams still get the chance, to play against the bigger teams, albeit not so regular, just to maintain that situation where they're challenging. But financially, they will all be better off because the top 6 will generate more money. So I think the two things that need to happen right now is a question of when they will have it, and 2, the compensation for the tier 2 teams.
Where will that leave West Indian cricket?
Well, West Indies cricket will be the same as all the others in tier 2. But with the increased money from ICC, they will be able to invest in development, in structures, sports science, all the things to improve performance. That's holding them back now because, the revenue that they get now, they're all in one group, but the revenue they get now is disproportionate to what India, Australia, and England get. So hence, West Indies cannot do a great deal with that. So I believe, West Indies from the cycle probably gets over an 8-year period, 90 million plus dollars from the cycle. In the same period, India gets over 450 million. Australia and England get 200 million. And the other teams get similar 90 odd. And the last team, I think Zimbabwe, gets less than that. Now, with the split, I believe that those 6 will earn more money than they're getting now. So will Australia, so will England. They'll get more. And because of the revenue that they're generating, the likes of West Indies and others will get more than the 94 million, which gives them a chance, as I said now, to develop, their teams and their structure to play much more competitive cricket. So overall, it could certainly help the level of cricket. I don't think any West Indian fan here would want to see that, but I think there's inevitability about the whole situation that it will happen. It's just a question of when.
So no promotion and relegation then?
Well, until such time, and I don't believe until such time that you say over a period of time, if those teams in tier 2, with the added investment, are now able to lift their level of cricket to such a height, at that point in time, I think they could then revisit the promotion and relegation. I don't think they would do that from the off simply because just imagine Australia finishing bottom of the group, tier 1 group.
Well, England was 6th this year, so if England came,
right.
bottom,
or England came 6th. England go into tier 2 for Afghanistan to come up. That will not happen. It doesn't make business sense because Afghanistan cannot generate the sort of finances for the international cricket that England can. So that is not going to happen. So I think the teams in tier 2 are going to have to prove themselves to be a strong group, not just a strong team. Because if you've got 1 or 2 strong teams, that will not help the situation. I think tier 2 with the added money, right, that gives them a chance now to really lift their cricket. If they can do that, where you've got all the teams in tier 2 performing at a high level, then the chance that they can relook at the situation of promotion and relegation, because the teams coming up will not be far short, if they are short, of what you've got in tier 1. But as it stands now, I don't think they will want to do that first up.
Taxes was taxing. Now taxes is relaxing when you file for free.
I can file for free? TurboTax Free Edition. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. I can file for free.
Now this is taxes. File for free with TurboTax Free Edition and get your maximum refund. No schedules except for Earned Income Tax Credit, Child Tax Credit, and Student Loan Interest. See if you qualify at TurboTax.com/free.
So you think it's a commercial decision, but the right decision if the countries in Tier 2 get the proper funding?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I think in time, the teams in Tier 2 will realize that they're much better off. Right now, most of them are struggling financially to stay afloat. The fact that more money will be in the whole system and filtering down to them would ensure that their survival is guaranteed. And I think even though they may feel slighted at the beginning to be in Tier 2, after a year or two, they'll realize that, something, we're much better off here because, our finances are much better than they are right now.
Well, hopefully, personally, England will still get to play countries like the West Indies, because if not, we're going to be playing the same teams almost too often, really, Australia and India.
Well, that's going to happen. They're going to play them regularly, but I think part and parcel of the arrangement should be that the big teams, however they work it out, that the big teams have to play a bilateral series outside the Test Championship against the Tier 2 teams, which will help their development because all along they'll be testing themselves against the Tier 1 teams when they get to play them. So I don't think it can be a total cut-off where Tier 1 plays only Tier 1 and they have nothing to do with Tier 2. That would defeat the whole object of spreading the game, worldwide. I think there has to be some connection, certainly not play with the same regularity as India, Australia, England, and those teams will play each other. But I think those Tier 2 teams must still have the opportunity to play those big teams.
One thing I like from your thoughts is the prospect of the end of 2-match Test series.
Yeah, I mean, that has to go. I mean, that's, listen, 2-match Test series right now for the lower teams, the teams after 6 now, those teams, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. Those teams right now cannot afford to have any more than a 2-test series. It is, as much as you would feel that they need to play more cricket, the reality is, a longer series is more debt. So the fact that if you do have the 2-tier system, now those teams in Tier 2 can play each other longer series because those series will not be dependent financially because the finance is coming from above. So West Indies can play Afghanistan in a 5-test series, and that is purely for cricketing reasons. You're already getting your funding from Tier 1, so you're now playing the cricket. You're not depending on making money because there's none to make. What money are you going to make West Indies playing like Afghanistan or Zimbabwe or whatever? So there's none. So one tier finances the other tier and allows the other tier to play longer series for cricketing reasons, not for any financial reasons.
Well, I hope you're right. I think that's very important for cricketing reasons. I've got one more question actually on this from Tawanda Eli. He's a commentator in Zimbabwe, and his question is: do you think Test cricket will grow beyond the 12? Could the Tier 2 get bigger?
It certainly could. Again, with further investment in the associates, then it could grow. But I think it would be difficult in this climate for most of the associate countries, to maintain test standard. It's okay working towards test standard and getting it, but financially, they just will not be able to maintain that. So, I suspect that, the holy grail really for the associates will be, white ball cricket. If they can get obviously T20 and ODI status. I think that would be, should be the height of their ambitions, because running Test cricket is not a cheap venture. So associates struggle as it is to even survive. So to be playing Test cricket, I think it's definitely a no-no. I would suspect that they could certainly concentrate on what is popular right now, what is generating finances for players and for boards, which is the white ball game. And I think that's where the associates' focus really need to be. There's no point in Argentina wanting to play Test cricket, because how is it going to be financed? That's just another drain on the ICC. ICC, they're moving away from that situation. They realize now that of the 12 teams, really 6 are a drain on the coffers as it stands right now. So I can't see them going in that direction.
So concluding, you think the 2-tier test match system, which could come as soon as the next cycle, which we've got test matches booked in until 2027, could be the saviour of Test cricket then?
I think it could be the saviour, most definitely. Certainly the saviour for Tier 2. There is a Tier 1 now, even though it is not in black and white. But those teams already, the majority of those teams already do very well. But I think once the split comes, I think it will be a saviour for the Tier 2 teams, because there will be much bigger purses at the top level, which is filtered down. That's what ICC needs to do, really, is to filter that money into Tier 2 so that they're not disadvantaged and they've got money to put into their cricket to develop it.
Well, thank you very much for that discussion.
Yes, and Steve, before we go, as I said, that India-Australia series really was a look into the future of what Test cricket is going to be.
On that note, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.